is to inform you that I intend to file a notice with the Speaker of Parliament as early as tomorrow or Monday morning, seeking permission next week to present a motion that will give this country a solution on how to deal with the economic crisis that we find ourselves in. But this particular motion is going to focus mainly on the luxury at Mr. Museveni's residence and his office. So if you allow me to steer to the background of something that you are aware, on 8th August, the World Bank announced a suspending of loans to Uganda over the Anti-Homosexual Act. President Museveni responded by assuring the country that Uganda can survive without the World Bank loans. He also said if money from other donors that finance treatment, especially of HIV/AIDS, is withdrawn, the 2 million Ugandans who live with HIV/AIDS will survive by cutting and reducing salary and allowances of public civil servants. You also, before I go to the subject matter of this motion, need to refresh your mind that this World Bank withdrawal found us already in problems. Our total debt, the external debt as of March this year, is 85.2 trillion, according to Bank of Uganda State of the Economy report, April 2023. And our total budget, as you're also aware, is 52.7 trillion. Uganda's external debt now stands at 51 trillion shilling, which is roughly about 13.5. And our domestic debt is 34.1 trillion. External debt, of course, here I am referring to money we have borrowed from World Bank, IMF, China, EU, African Development Bank, and various countries. Domestic debt, money that mainly the government has borrowed from commercial banks. Minister of Finance puts the total debt at 80.7 trillion. If you look at the budget speech, which is 21.7 billion US dollar, of which 47.7 trillion, according to Minister of Finance, is external and 33 trillion is domestic. The interest on money borrowed from commercial banks that we are supposed to be paying this financial year is 6.1 trillion, and interest on money borrowed from external sources is 1 trillion. It is not only interest that we are paying. This financial year we will pay 2.7 trillion in principal. And I'm talking about money we have brought from outside. And because we don't have money to pay our domestic debt, we will be borrowing 8.3 trillion from the same lenders. You go to one bank and borrow to pay. Please take note that our projected total revenue next financial year is 29.6. This is the money that URA thinks will correct 29.6 trillion. A total of 17.1 is provided for in the budget as debt service obligation in this financial year's budget, which is 60% of the money that URA will be correcting. In fact, the Minister of Finance had asked for 18.7 trillion to service the public debt. Also take note that wages, the salaries for all the public employees is 7.3 trillion, and other expenses like fuel, purchase of vehicles, special meals will cost Uganda 13.5 trillion. Last financial year, we failed to service our external debt as a result of Bank of Uganda, as a result of failure to service our external debt. Bank of Uganda encroached on our reserves, reducing it from 4.4 billion US dollar to 3.6 billion. We have also failed to pay the accumulated interest on the domestic debt, as I have already indicated. That's why a higher figure is presented in this financial year's budget. Bank of Uganda is demanding 1.4 trillion to restock the reserves and to capitalize itself. And this is the gist of my motion. It is therefore irresponsible and inaccurate for the President to say Uganda will survive without World Bank funding. Losing concessional loans means resorting to commercial banks and money lenders who charge high interest rate. Bank of Uganda notes in its April 23 report on the state of the economy that Uganda's balance of payment, which is registered at 738 million surplus last financial year, which was in a surplus, is now in a deficit of $1 billion US. The deficit, according to Bank of Uganda, remains high by any historical standards. The President must act as an example. If you look at the budget that we passed, which is 52.7 trillion, as I said earlier, 7.3 is salary, 13.5 is other expenses, 18 trillion is debt servicing, 7 trillion in particular is interest. So what it means for government to do some work this financial year will be 14 trillion. I want you to take a note. Uganda is going to be an interesting country. That you spend 7 trillion on wages and 13 on other expenses, 18 on servicing debt, and then you have 14 trillion shilling to spend. So you're going to spend 7 trillion plus 13 on government employees for them to implement programs of just 14. So 20 trillion is for servicing staff, their salary and vehicle, and the money that remains for spending is 14 trillion. We don't have money, that's why we will borrow, as I said. Please take note that I may jump this. It is therefore irresponsible and inaccurate for the President, as I said earlier, to say we will survive. Let me give you the examples that are driving me to move this motion. The President at the beginning of his administration, many of you may not have noticed, was driving a Toyota Santana. His convoy was less than 10 vehicles. He later upgraded to a cross-country. Today, and I'm going to give you figures, that's why I prepared this document. Every ministry is required to submit a list of vehicles. And these documents are available in ministerial statements, which I will share with you. Museveni's convoy has now grown to 60 vehicles. You are aware that his son, Muhoozi Kainerugaba, also has a convoy of a dozen vehicles, including a huge truck similar to that of his father. The father uses as a toilet. The wife also has a convoy with similar facilities. These are no longer leaders of an impoverished country that survives on loans which it cannot pay. In fact, Mr. Museveni and his family are now behaving like kings, which is the reason at his function, 50th anniversary, wedding anniversary, the appropriate guests that Museveni found to invite were Nigerian chiefs. If you all know how ostentatious are Nigerians. The trouble is that we don't seem to see this as a country. These days, our president has developed appetite for parties and his family members are competing with each other. The son has become a huge cost to this country, staging expensive parties. Now his dad has started. After the wedding anniversary, there is also a function at Kololo Museveni at 79. The wife, Mama Janet Kataa, has also turned 75. If she is not interested in staging a party, maybe some opportunist may throw one for her. And the girls have also grown. If they begin, we may have a party from a member of Museveni's family every week. Mind you, intern doctors who treat the hopeless population are still not yet deployed, and children in public schools still go without lunch. Mr. Museveni promised milk for children, which he forgot. The wife had promised sanitary pads, but handlers don't seem to have reminded her, yet she's a very busy person. I now want to go to the details. Mr. Museveni in his office, and these figures are available in all policy statements, he now employs 761 members of staff. If you look at the ministerial statement supplied to Parliament for 2020 to 2023, these staff at the President's office include 82 presidential advisors, 142 resident district commissioners, 98 deputy RDCs, and 27 senior presidential assistants. You need to take note that the remuneration and recruitment of staff at President's office seems to follow no guidelines. No interviews are done, and no qualifications are required. That's how people like a butcherman, and I will be giving you a list that where butcherman is also now a staff at the President's office, formerly of the fire-based crew, have found themselves on a government payroll. The salaries and wages are also given in a similar manner. If you look at the list of presidential advisors that I'm going to give you, for example, Salim Saleh, his salary is now 17 million as a senior presidential advisor. Dr. Ezra Suruma, Professor Edward Rugumayo, at the same rank are given 11 million. Mr. Audrey Kruawogo, who marries one of Museveni's daughters, is paid 15 million per month. Former Finance Minister Gerard Sendaula, at the same level with Ruawogo, is given 2.3 million. It is even worse when it comes to military personnel. You'll find that Major General Chiza Ali is paid 15 million, presidential advisor. Colonel William Omaria, 9 million, and Major General Joshua Masawa, 2.3. Yet they are all senior presidential advisors at the same rank. You need to also remember that the Minister of Health, in a presentation to Parliament, told us that we have a gap of 35% medical personnel in public facilities. Yet every year, it is now costing Uganda 30 billion to pay the salaries of staff at the President's office. So if you look at the list here, which I have provided, it has all the employees and their salaries. The one who earns the biggest salary now is Dr. Ruakana Rugunda, who is a special envoy for special duties, Office of the President. We have Salim Saleh, 17.1 million per month. Chintu Musoke, 17.1. Betty Vigombe at 15 million. We have Gakwandi Asa Shato, Kawagambe Kalisa, all these are 15 million. So this list, as I said, I am going to share with you. You don't have to go through the list. The presidential advisors, you'll see the name. When you go to the category of special presidential assistants, this is where you will find the musicians like Buchaman and Kusasira. They are also now part of the government payroll. Kusasira is a special presidential assistant, political affairs. paid 2.3 million per month. Bugembe Buchaman is Deputy Special Presidential Assistant Political Affairs, paid 2.3 million. So the cost of advisors and these assistants every year, we are spending 9.1 billion on paying wages for presidential advisors. We are spending 764 million per month on presidential advisors and 25.4 million per day on these advisors and 1 million per hour. This cost does not include their vehicles, escorts, fuel, and other expenditure. Of course, you also find a list of resident district commissioners who are 142. Then you come to the list of vehicles under the president's office. When you look at the ministerial statement, the president's office alone will go to his residence, has 400 vehicles. And you also take note by looking at the date of purchasing of these vehicles. For example, in the year 2019, towards the elections, in one go, the president purchased 57 brand new pickups for RDCs. And you need to look at the statement by the Minister of Health. This country today has a total number of ambulances, 350. 172 ambulances are in private hands and government has 179. The Minister of Health in the statement parliament said we need 82.2 billion to buy appropriate ambulances. We don't have. So the country has a gap of 340 ambulances, but the president has 400 vehicles under his office. I have presented a full list of these vehicles. And then we now go to the residence of the president, State House. If you look at the schedule in the Presidential Emoluments and Benefits Act, the president is entitled to transport vehicles with government-paid drivers, including a lead car, official executive limousine, and escort vehicles. He is not entitled to all that you see now. The list of vehicles under State House has now grown to 376. These are the vehicles at the residence of the president. I have provided the list of these vehicles. You will see, for example, the presidential convoy now has 60 vehicles, as I already said. These descriptions are here, and the amount of money we spent on each vehicle. We now finally go to, and then I'll give a summary. The staff at the president's office. If you look at the budget of this financial year, the country will be spending 47.7 billion in salaries alone for workers of the president at his residence, which translates into 3.9 per month, 132 million per day, and 5.5 million per hour. The total budget, of course, you are aware, is 410 billion. The details are very interesting for you to note. For example, the president at his residence employs 59 waitresses. He has 14 room attendants. He has 40 private secretary, 23 political mobilizer. He has 9 rounders and dobby, 29 housekeepers, 80 gardeners. I don't know which gardens are in State House. 129 drivers, 35 cooks, 50 cleaners, and 12 chefs. So this what makes a total of all the workers at President's office. The total list of people who work at Museveni's residence is now 996. These are the workers that Mr. Museveni has. My motion to Parliament is, first of all, so the motion that I am going to be submitting to the Speaker is a motion that is intended to implement the Presidential Emoluments and Benefits Act. That is the law that stipulates what entitlement the President, what benefits the President is entitled to. His salary, according to that law, is 3.5 million. Museveni must be a very intelligent person who can use a salary of 3.5 million shilling to build all the residences, including the new one in Tungamo, where they had a function with his wife. So the responsibility of Parliament, as we respond to the troubles of World Bank, is to reduce on the luxuries at State House. And if that motion goes through, I intend to move Parliament to do the same at all government departments, including Parliament of Uganda. You all have seen vehicles. Sometimes they are parked here. I don't know when they are driven. You go to all the parking yards at government ministries. There are vehicles there that are never driven. Yet the country has a gap of 340 ambulances. So if we begin with the President, we return to the life he lived immediately he captured power, of driving a convoy of less than 10 vehicles, and also of the President curtailing members of his family, because the law does not provide convoys to members of his family, like you saw recently in Bukedea. Museveni's son in a convoy, including a toilet. The wife also has a convoy. All this is what is causing the stress that we are going through as a country. I have told you, to sustain the public service every year now, we use 18 trillion shilling to pay debt and to keep picking fresh ones. So this motion I will be writing to the Speaker. I've already finished the letters, which I will be submitting tomorrow. And I will be requesting for 2 days to specifically start with a debate on Museveni and then go down to all government departments. So thank you very much. That's the motion I wanted to share with you. If there are questions, I can take them. The motion can only fail by numbers. To have it debated does not require any number. All you need is to notify the Speaker and ask for permission. And I don't see any MP saying the President should continue violating the law. That you have a President, you're a poor country, you don't have ambulances, you can't deploy medical workers, but you have a President who is swimming in luxury, that there is an MP who will say it is okay. So I am optimistic that all the MPs will support this motion. Nagadde okubategeeza okusooka maze okuteekateeka motion eno ng'ejjidde mu kiseera Uganda weeyina obuzibu obw'amaanyi nnyo obw'ebyensimbi, nga tuli mu kusala magezi naddala oluvannyuma nga World Bank emaze okutuggyako ssente ze tubadde twewola. Kyetaaga okutegeera, buli omu akitegeere bulungi, nti ebyenfuna bya Uganda bwe tuyimiridde olwaleero tubanjibwa ssente zonna omugatte ziri trillion 8 ze tubanjibwa. Trillion 8 zisinga ne budget ya Uganda eya trillion 5.2. Ebbanja lye batubanja lisinga ne budget ya Uganda ng'ogigase wamu. Bwe weetegereza ekizibu ekitutuusiza wano we tuli, kwe kudiibuuda okw'amaanyi okutandikira ddala mu maka ga President Museveni ne mu ofiisi ye. Ekyokulabirako President mu ofiisi ye olwaleero kati akozesa abakozi benkanankana n'essomero lya secondary obungi. Ayina abakozi 761. Abamu bwe mba mujjukira ebiseera tinyefuuza ne Kanyehamba bwe babeera ba presidential advisor, baatugamba nti nga bakayitawo emyaka 2 nga babalonzi nga banoonya Museveni okumuwa advice nga tebamulaba. Kati olwaleero Museveni ayina abawi b'amagezi bali 82 abali mu office ate nga ne waka ayinayo n'abamuwa amagezi ku byamaka ndowooza yali badde nga senga bw'otunuulira lisiti y'abawa amagezi President Museveni mu makage mulimu amuwa amagezi ku byamaka senior presidential advisor oyo ndowooza akola nga senga nja kumbawa erinnya lye wano abakozi bano Museveni balina ng'otandise ne ba presidential advisor 82 sente ezibasasulwa tezitegerekeka bw'osanga Rugunda bamusasula miliyoni 2 muto wa Museveni Salim Sale bamusasula 17 buli mwezi Oduliki Lwabwogo eyawasa muwala wa Museveni naye bamusasula 15 Lwabwogo ali ku kifo kyekimu senior presidential advisor ne ba Gerard Sendawula bamuwa miliyoni 2.3 kakati weewuunya bano abantu nti abantu 82 Museveni bagenda musanga wanga ababiri Professor Kanyehamba ne Tinyefuza bamunonyomu advice ne bamubulwa ne batuuka n'okwadressinga press conference kati bano 82 bagenda kumusangawa era buli omu bwamuwa advice kitwala emyezi 2 nga yasooka taddangayo kumulaba kumuwa advice naye nga ate buli mwezi basasulwa sente naye buli omu bwagenda omu okumuwa advice kyetaagisa emyezi 3 kati bajja kuggwa emyezi 3 giggwako nga yasooka omuwa advice taddangamu kufuna kiseera kusinkana Museveni bw'ovaawo n'ogenda ku lisiti y'aba special assistants abayambi ba Museveni eno lisiti eriko abayambi abayita special presidential assistant nabo sente z'abasasula zaawukana naye ng'omulimu gwe gumu kuno kwosanga Kasereni kusaasira omwezi bamuwa miliyoni 2.3 kweno lisiti kwosanga ne Buchaman kati Buchaman naye ayingidde ku payroll ya gavumenti buli mwezi asasulwa miliyoni 2.3 bano beba presidential assistant nga bwe baba tuwa mu parliament full figure taliiko ndoza ali ku list ndala naye at least tulina mu parliament taliiko kakati bw'ogattagatta abantu bano RDC bokka buli omu ne akola mu office ba driver RDC bokka sente ze tubasaasaanyako ng'eggwanga ne bwe twalizisaasaanyiza ku basawo eggwanga lino lyali badde lyeyagala bw'ova ku bakozi olwo ate nojja n'oyingira emmotoka eziri mu president's office ya president kati saawa zino eyina emmotoka 400 eggwanga liyina ambulance 305 minisita w'ebyobulamu yatugamba mu parliament statement ye njagibawa abatakyagiina yatugamba nti twetaaga ambulance endala 304 tuyina ambulance 305 ng'eggwanga lyonna okuva e Kabera Maido Nakapiripiriti Kabale naye Museveni mu office ayinamu emmotoka 400 emmotoka ezo okuzitambuza buli mwezi tuzisaasaanyako amafuta ga biliyoni 7 n'okuzimaintaininga era olukalala luno lukulaga emmotoka ki eziri mu president's office ate si ze president z'alina zokka alina n'emmotoka eziri mu makaage state house eziri mu makaage kati ziri emmotoka 266 emmotoka ezo lisiti yaazo 266 weeri wano kuliko emmotoka 68 presidential convoy ziri properly classified bw'oba oziraba bulungi presidential convoy mukimanyi bulungi nti kati ne mutabani walina convoy eyinamu n'ekiroole ekya toilet nga kitaawe kyayina naye muteeka tebatukkiriza pulezidenti yekeeka gubawe emmotoka ne mukyala we naye alina convoy y'emu kati bw'ogatta emmotoka n'ogatta 206 n'ogatta n'ebina pulezidenti waffe alina emmotoka 606 yalina likodi esinga okubeera ba president mu nsi yonna n'emmotoka ennyingi. Bw'ova ku mmotoka nodda mu maka ge, mu maka ga president olwaleero president alina abakozi abakola mu maka ge 996. Mwabo abakozi alinako waitress bebalinda abanajja okukyala awo okubayingiza balaba omukulu 59. Alinawo room attendant abaala obuliri awo n'okutereeza 14. Alina private secretary abawandiisi ab'omukyama 40. Alina political mobilizer abamuyambako ogenda okusagula obululu 23. Alina abooza engoye n'eddobi 9. Housekeeper abayambako enju okulaba nga eteredde bulungi bali badde ba room tebano bebeera mu sitting room 29. Alina n'abalimi gadena 8. Badriver 29. Alina abafumbi 35 ne bakilina abasaawasawa ku compound 5 ne bachefu mubamanyi abeera mu hoteli abafumba ne bana abafumbi b'emagambye abafumbira president obusera kalo alina 12. Kakati bw'ogatagata ebintu ebyo mwenanga bamanyi Uganda bweri olwaleero saawa zino World Bank bwe yatuggyeko sente president n'agamba nti agenda kusala ku misolo, agenda kusala ku misaala gy'abakozi ba government. Motion yange gyendeta mu parliament egamba nti nga tetunnabagenda kusala ku misaala gy'abakozi ba government tusooke ng'eggwanga tulwanyise okudiibuuda kwonna nga kutandikira amaka ga president ne mu ofiisi ye. President ayinza okuba ndowooza tebamubuulira naye kati yerabanga bakabaka abafuzi ab'ennono nga bwolaba ab'ebuwarabu kyenva mulaba ne bwe yakoze omukolo ogw'okujaganya ne mukyala we emyaka gye bamaze mu bufumba 5 yagenze Nigeria n'ayitayo bakabaka ate mubamanyi abeeyo basajja bakwejalabya nnyo kati ekyo kyekinywi kya Museveni bavuganya nabo mu by'okwejalabya. Eno etandika ngenda kuwandikira sipiika okuleeta ekiteeso kino tusooke tukomyewo president awangalire mu bulamu obuli mu mateeka. Mbagambye nti etteeka eriteekawo okulabirira Presidential Emoluments and Benefits Act terimukkiriza kuba na convoy esukka motoka 10 kati alina 66. Abaana be dibawaayo okubasomesa n'okubajjanjaba n'okubatwalako ebweru buli mu mwaka omulundi gumu. Teribawa convoy zirimu na toilet nga gimwalaba ne muwozi ng'agenda Bukedde ne mukyala we terimuwa. Ekyewuunyisa bwe munaasoma lisiti eno ne mugyegendereza mukyala wa Mwami Museveni akolanga minisita w'ebyenjigiriza ate alinamu ne bastaafu abamuyambako nga first lady ate nga mu mateeka ga public service omutakirizibwa kubeera na office bbiri. Tosobola kubeera ng'oli first lady nga office ate ng'oli minister wa education oteekwa okubaako n'omulimu gumu. So eyo kyekiteeso kyendeetera parliament wiiki eno ejja. Ebbaluwa ewedde njagala kugikwasa sipiika ampa obudde era ndowooza nti parliament kijja gyetaagisa olunaku lulamba okusobola okuyita mu kiwandiiko kino. Ebiwandiiko bino bye mulaba babiwa parliament buli mwaka era bwe munaasoma policy statement eza presidency mujja kusangamu ebiwandiiko bino byonna. Nze njagadde bijjamu kubanga komiti eya presidency omulimu gwe yali wadde tukolera omunene gugirema nejja netubuwa budget abantu ne bayisa budget nga tigoberera na mateeka. Thank you very much. Tewaliiwo nkola gyayitamu kuyingiza abakozi mu maka ge oba mu office. Buchaman we yamusanyusa n'amugaa kati goli presidential assistant. Kasireni kusaasira we yamubiguliramu n'aga nti kati naawe oli presidential assistant. Teriiyo nkola n'emwegobererwa. Bwe tuza president mu nkola mu maka ge n'abeerayo n'abakozi abatasukka 50 kati alina 996. Budget ya president gy'alina eya billioni 600 esobola okendeera ne tulabirira president ate n'abeera bulungi nga tusaasanya billioni nga 5. Kati bwe tugenda tukola enkola eyo mu buli kitongole kya government ne parliament nga mweri ojja kwesanga nga World Bank sente zegendo tusalako mu loan ze twali tumaze okusaba bw'ozigatta project ezigenda mu maaso ziri trillion 2 tusobola okufisaawo sente ne tukola ebintu bye twalikoze mu sente za World Bank ne tukola n'ebintu ebirala bingi kubanga ekizibu kati abantu abasinga bagenze bayigira empisa embi ku president osanga ne minister nga ne ku street bamumanyi naye ayina emmotoka 3 mumutegerera ku mmotoka nti ye minister buli omu kati bavuganya mu convoy bavuganya mu bakuumi duli twali awo mu kuzikanga ndaba Catherine Kusaasira presidential assistant afuna $2 million n'emitwalo 3 ayina emmotoka kuliko UC mpya n'abasirikale abamukuuma bw'ogatta amafuta ago n'ogatta abadereva ne tugenda nga tukola ekintu kyekimu World Bank ni bwe naatusalako sente tujja kuzimisinga ne tusobola okubeerawo mu mbeera ennungi ng'eggwanga zino figures zennyina si za bukyayi si nze naziyiiza figures zino zaaleeteddwa President's Office bw'ona asoma Ministry of Policy Settlement for Presidents ogenda zisanga mu buli mwaka okuva 2018 okutuuka 2023 mu ggwanga Museveni ne naalibadde mwagala nnyo nkugambye tinyefuuza ne Kanyehamba be yasooka okulonda nga presidential advisor 2 ne bamunoonya mu advice n'abula kakati gwe teebereza bano 82 bo bagenda kumugjawa kino sikyogeza bukyayi naye nkyogeza lwa bulumi nze nange nawalizibwa ogula ambulance ekireddwero ya government health center for tebalina ambulance naye yange nga omugiraba just transport teriimu bikola fisa sente zino zisobola okukomawo ne ziweereza abantu ensi eno neebeerako bulungi